In your longing for your greater self lies your goodness.
Hello and welcome back to Anonymous Animators Review. Today we're reviewing Kahlil Gibran's The Prophet. We've got a new lineup for the show. We're going to do this in two separate shows or episodes. We're going to have a review section, and then we're going to have a episode where we actually talk with spoilers and everything. So this is just the review episode. If you want to hear with spoilers, that'll be in another podcast. Okay, so I'm Wesley Boone, your host, and this is my co-host Emily Strasser.
Hello.
And Emily, let's start off with, I guess, your opinion on the movie. How did you enjoy it?
Well, I will say I came in expecting something a little bit different because, I mean, a lot of people were talking about, yeah, 2D's not dead, here's a movie by Bardell Entertainment or Bardell helped at least. And look, it's in 2D, and then I was a little bit, like, up front, I was a little bit disappointed. It's like, this looks like a 3D trying to look 2D kind of thing. But that being said, there was definitely a lot of 2D elements in it, which made me really happy. Really artsy, very painterly fashion. Like, overall, it struck me as a avant-garde film trying to be Disney, if that makes sense. Like, the characters were very sort of mainstream, appealing kind of design that you'd see in the old Disney and DreamWorks films. And yet, it was definitely somebody's baby, you know, like somebody had...
there's a lot of love in this film.
Oh gosh, there's, like, in the little poems, it's basically told in a way that... It's basically told where it's about... Well, it's about this little girl who meets this guy who's like a poet, and every poem that he has, there are these little animated sequences, and they're done in different styles. There's like a flash style, there's one done in crayon, there's one done in very painterly
It looked like oil paints?
Yeah, oil paints, I think, or I'm not really sure, but everything was moving so fast I couldn't really tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a little bit of a little history of the movie itself. So The Prophet is the movie itself is based on a poet whose name is Kahlil Gibran, so that's why it's called Kahlil.
No, it's actually it's actually a book by Kahlil Gibran, but it's based on a fictional character, I believe.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It's not based on anybody, considering the thing. But yeah, it's a collection of his poetry turned into a movie. So we have, like, it's not all of the poems, as you found out. It's not all of the poems that the poems the book that it's based off, but every poem that they do. So the way the movie's presented is there's this character. Well, I think it's this little girl and her mother. Really, you get introduced to this girl first. Kalima? Kalima. I'm taking out the heart.
Are we looking for the character?
Yeah.
There's Almitra?
Almitra, yes. The little girl Almitra, you get introduced to her. She's a bit of a troublemaker. And you eventually, through sort of that little bit of an introduction, so the story itself, this mute girl, whose father had passed away 2 years before, had obviously has not handled her father's passing very well. Mute, causes a bit of trouble in the city or the town that they live in, and her mother, single parent, having a hard time looking after her. She's the housekeeper for this criminal. That's how you're told. It's a dangerous criminal, and it's actually this poet and painter and just philosopher, I guess, who just, you know, he's got like these amazing poems that inspire the town, and they love you hear his teachings. Very, very Jesus-like, you know, this character, like, you know, or Muhammad-like, or, you know, like a prophet. He's a prophet.
Well,
hence the name. And so you got this, and every poem is very beautiful on its own. I will admit, the first time I'd watched the film last year, was I told you already, was my feelings on the poetry I felt was very samey. I wasn't blown away too much at the time, the first time I heard it. It's, I don't know why this happens to me, but this happens to me with music and movies and a lot of stuff. Like, often the first time I see something or experience something, I'm sometimes just not impressed, or I don't care for it. I'm like, oh, I see why I'm supposed to be impressed, but then I'm not. And then sometimes the second time I appreciate it way more. This happens especially with poetry to me, music-wise and just, written poetry. But yeah, so the first time, I'll admit, like, the poetry didn't really strike me as hard as it did. One or two poems I did really like. Yeah. But otherwise, not a bad representation of what each poem talks about, and which we'll break down each poem in a minute. The story itself, take away the poetry, is, yeah, so we got the prophet, they get introduced, and then he's got, today's the day that he's set free. And so the crowd that follows him around, like the people that, oh, he's set free, the prophet, we love this guy, the people are free. And you start learning slowly that, oh, it wasn't the people who wanted him arrested because they all love him. Why is this guy arrested? Because they do introduce him as this evil criminal, like that. That's how the one guard does.
Yeah.
And, you find out, no, he's just a poet, and you can sort of pick up, like, why, because the government doesn't usually like it when people let other people think freely.
Nervous cough.
Nervous cough. The same way the one guard, the lead guard, I guess, who was like, look, those are the people, they are sheep, and then even the poet says, well, the prophet, even he says, well, even the sheep will have the last word sometimes. And it's like people look down on the concept of people being sheep, and he doesn't, this prophet doesn't. It's like, there's nothing wrong with seeking comfort or happiness in following the herd. It's always about seeking your own happiness. However, if you're unhappy, it's your responsibility, I guess, to fix it. But that's not really what this movie talks about. Yeah, so that's sort of the story in a nutshell. I'm not really giving out much spoiler there, and it's covered in yeah, like the animation style for the main story. The none of the poetry animation sequences, because each poetry animation sequence is its own art style. Like the poem of what, life and death, or or the poem of childhood, is done in a very sort of simple flash style, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the poem of working is about. It's done in that paint. That was the acrylic paint one, wasn't? Or
No,
oil
I think
paint one.
I think that was actually the crayon.
That was the crayon one, yeah. Each one's done in these, like, really interesting and amazing art styles, and each very imaginative in their own way, in the way you expect short films to be. It's like a movie with a bunch of short films, like, crammed into it, like, based on the poetry that they're listening to.
That's actually a really brilliant way of saying it, because, like, I think the poems themselves, the shorts of the poems, could basically stand on their own. Like, each one is its own really fascinating thing to watch. So I don't know, like, it's I don't know. I really appreciate that kind of, that, like, I just appreciate them taking that chance, because let's face it, this film was not really a blockbuster film to begin with.
This isn't a big budget film, like, in the sense of Disney or Hollywood. What I mean? I'm not saying it's not a big budget. I'm sure there was a lot of money put into this film. You can definitely see that.
Oh gosh, so much work, especially for a lot of the traditionally done sequences, the scenes. I mean, you hear about how much work goes into when you try to do painting animation styles, where you basically do a painting for every frame. Like, I can't, myself as an animator, I can't even fathom. And I've done frame by frame animation, so the idea. But I'm also not a painter. I've painted, but I wouldn't consider myself a painter. But and for me, painting takes a lot of time, and to be able to do it so well that you can make a moving picture out of it blows my mind away. I mean, heck, even doing an entire short film in crayon is just completely mind-boggling to me. And I actually like crayon. You
Look,
know.
I assume they follow the building blocks of animation. You know,
Oh, absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
you obviously do everything in pencil, and you've got your pencil tests and everything. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure even the painted one was like, okay, this is where this is going to be, and then this is where this is going to be, and then they have their transparencies and everything with it. That being said, no, it doesn't stop it from being an amazing production.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Like, I've never tried to do a short film out of painting, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
know what goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very comfortable doing animation with cutout animation, and you know, like I haven't really delved that too much into frame into traditional, which I really should, but that's again not for this story discussion. Well, okay, so again, we're not going to give away any spoilers in here, but the story, yeah, the main story itself, it's quite sad. It moves. It moves you in the right ways. I felt it told it, you know, it made you. I liked all the characters. I liked even Almitra, the little girl, and I usually don't like trouble causing characters because they're. And it's not that I don't understand a person who's in trouble or just trying to figure out their own way, but they're usually given this oh, they're just going against the grain and fighting the man, and it's like, yeah, sure, I get that, you know. I don't want to sound like some 50-year-old Republican who's like, oh, people should just, you know, eat the grass that they're given, but it's like,
Eat the grass that they're given.
I don't know, whatever. I gotta make up my own things. But it's so I get annoyed sometimes by the rebellious one. You know, the rebellious one trope, because it's always the same thing. It's like they fight the system doesn't like them, and then they do something that they do it their own way, and then all of a sudden everyone in the system likes them, and it's like, that's silly. That's not really even how it
That's very
works.
Rebel Without a Cause. Wasn't there a movie called that?
Probably.
And yeah, I think there was a movie. I haven't seen it, but apparently there's a movie in which the guy is just a huge jerk, and I think a girl asks him, like, why are you such a rebel? What are you rebelling against? And he goes, what you got?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like, yeah, there are things to rebel against, and I'm always for that. I mean, I'm always for a good rebellion myself, as long as it also does seem like it's not like it's like she.
Not unfounded.
Yeah, it's not unfounded. It's not cruel. You know. Anyway, like Almitra wasn't cruel. She was a bit of a brat because some of the things she did do was like, this isn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand kids. Maybe she is just calling out for attention or something. But I don't know. I didn't mind her actually, because it's like you do sort of feel sympathy for her as the movie goes along. You know, it's like.
Well, keep in mind she's also a young girl, and I think you and I have also talked about, like, when you're young and you don't know, you have these feelings and emotions, and you don't know how to.
And your lexicon is very limited. You know, to like just a few words, and you
Yeah.
don't exactly know how to express yourself.
Yeah, I mean, someone once said that babies cry because they don't know the words for hungry, and I think that's pretty much true for a lot of people when you think about it. You know, so we don't know the word for it, we don't know how to express it, so we just rebel.
No, that makes sense. Babies cry because they don't know the word for hungry. People will cry and swear and punch when they don't know the words they want to use to express the feelings that they're feeling.
Yeah.
Or no, I can relate to that too. But you know, the thing is, I mean, she was. Again, it's a kid. It's a kid's point. I'm looking at too much from an adult point of view. I know that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, she had a father and he died, and
But
so
it's just like the mom, for example, doesn't look like she's an abusive mother. You know, I mean, sure, the concept of in the one poem where he talks about motherhood or childhood, I can't remember the name of the poem. It's basically the second poem, I think, that he.
I thought it was the first one.
Well, it's the first poem because the first. I suppose wasn't the first one where he talks about flying out the window.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right.
And then, but basically, the mother says something along the lines of she says, I can't control her, and the prophet goes, well, of course she doesn't belong to you, and I agree with those sentiments exactly. You shouldn't treat children like property, and you know, she's like, no, I clearly remember giving birth to her. You know, I was there during the process, and he's like, no, that's not what I mean. She came through you, but she doesn't belong to you, and that's part of the poem. And then it kicks off to the next this other animation sequence. Admittingly, probably the weakest of the sequences, the animation for the childhood, the one with the bow and arrows and things.
Yeah.
Not to say bad, but out of everything that's there, if you compare to like the painting animation or the crayon animation or excuse me, any of the other ones,
it looks like it was done by someone who does a lot of illustrator art, but doesn't really.
And it felt like there was a lot of rotoscoping too. There, you know, that part where the man draws the string on the bow, and that looked like rotoscope, which I think is what it was. And I think that was the idea, the style.
I think there was a lot of rotoscoping in the marriage one, because there were some shots that I was like, I don't think they must have used some kind of film reference.
Oh, for sure. No, I don't think it was rotoscoping though. I
might have to look at it again.
Yeah, no, it didn't feel rotoscoped. Because okay, for those who don't know, rotoscoping animation is basically animation where you draw over film reference.
Yeah. And
it gives this really, when it comes to animation, it gives off this weird, uncanny valley, I guess. Like, it's just in the uncanny valley. It's like, oh, that's supposed to be animated, but it's just not right. And when you talk animation principles...
Yeah, if you really want to see some of the oldest use of rotoscoping, there is what's the Betty Boop, what is it? What's that? The film company that made Betty Boop?
No, I don't remember.
Shoot.
But what's the reference?
Basically, there's a Betty Boop and Bimbo cartoon, which is now banned on TV for being racist.
Oh, well, of course. Anything from pre-50s, most likely.
Pretty much. But like, you can pretty much look it up on YouTube, but I don't remember if I can remember the name of it. If I remember it, I'll tell you to put it in the description.
Yeah.
But basically there's Cab Calloway, who used to be like this old black, I guess he was a jazz musician? I don't know. I didn't live in the 50s. I don't know. Or 40s. I don't remember when this
cartoon. I think it was probably in the 20s.
Oh, 20s. Yeah. Oh gosh. It was way before our time. Let's just say this was when our grandparents were in their prime.
Yeah.
And anyway, so it's like Betty Boop and Bimbo run away into this cave, and there's like these ghosts in there, and there's like the dancing walrus. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's we both took the same animation class, or animation history class. So anyway, it's a really bizarre cartoon. I think it would probably be even bizarre, but of course, you know, back then animators were like, hey, look, I can, you know, make animation look really convincing if I just draw over Cab Calloway and like frame by frame, except for the dancing walrus.
Yes, I do remember what you're talking about. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, I can't give much. I can't remember all the details now, but I do. I remember what you're talking about. They'll probably. We'll try and put a link. Fleischer.
Fleischer Studios. That was it.
Yeah, there's I'll try and dig up a link for that and then put that in the description. But it's a very weird little bit of animation of like this ghostly walrus man. Yeah. But pretty much, yeah, the idea behind rotoscoping is you got this like you've pretty much recorded a man dancing or whatever, and then people just draw like over that, and then so it's got this like this weird smoothness to it that you don't really see in cartoons because it's the imitation of life, right? Cartoons. So when you actually follow the steps to sort of make a cartoon look real, you'll actually notice it's not how we move as human beings. It's just to sort of give that illusion of life, and yeah. So that's a quick history of exactly what rotoscoping is.
Oh, one more thing about rotoscoping. There's also a full-length movie called Waking Life, I believe, entirely done in rotoscope. So like it's an animated film.
A Scanner Darkly is also done rotoscope.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen a Scanner Darkly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Waking Life, I actually couldn't watch that thing full through because I got so motion sick. But if you've got a strong stomach, check it out. It's totally trippy.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't think while I was watching the dancing sequence, I was also wondering, like, is this rotoscope, and I was like watching for like the animation tricks, and they're all there, and maybe that's how well it was made, but I didn't feel it was rotoscoped during the what was it? It was on Love.
No, it was on Marriage.
It was on Marriage. Yes, the poem on Marriage was the dancing sequence, very beautiful sequence too. That was traditional, or traditional, whichever. I don't think it was traditional. I just think it was just really well referenced.
Which apparently animators don't like the word traditional.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. I don't care. It's one of those words that, like, I understand why it exists.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know me. I'm a.
You're a rebel.
No, I'm not a rebel. I mean, I'm quite obsessed with my language.
Yes.
You know,
Oh, yes. That I
screw up a lot of the time too.
We've had many arguments on how to properly pronounce things.
Aluminium, for example.
I say aluminum.
Probably most of the people who hear this do. Okay, so yeah, the rest of the film. I mean, yeah, there's just so many beautiful sequences. What other poems were there? Do we have a because one of my favorite sequences was on
Let's see. There's chapters dealing with love, marriage, children, eating and drinking, work.
Joy and sorrow, houses, clothes, but these are all in the book though.
Yeah, but I couldn't find another.
Okay, well I can probably remember as we go along here.
Try not to move a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so we there's the love and marriage. The story on love was it was the which is also a traditional style of animation. It looked like that had a really nice dance scene in there as well, though with the capes.
Yes.
There's this part where the two characters who are in love, they get these capes added onto them, and it's they just do dance sequences around everything. It's really, you know, it's like if you had to just take all the poetry sections out, like the animations of just those, you could swoon over each and every one of them. You know, just. You know, well, not every one of them, as I said, the first one about children, the poem is nice, and the animation's not terrible. It's just, it's very limited. And just, as I said, the weakest out of all of them.
Which is kind of sad because, like, I mean, shoot, like, DHX does some really nice flash work. So... But I mean, I think I get what they were going for. They didn't want to wow you with the animation in that one. It was mostly, like... Because a lot of it wasn't, like, really... Some of it was really beautiful animation, but not all of them. A lot of them just felt very experimental. I think that was what it was. It wasn't trying to wow us with, oh, look, I can make head rotations in Flash. It's more of, here's some graphic shapes and we're going to make them move.
Yeah, maybe I'm not appreciating what it was meant to show. It wasn't. Again, I like the poem. I agreed with a lot of what the poem says, and every poem is also just really beautifully written.
And I will say, for people interested in this film, and I highly recommend it because it looks like it's going to get a DVD release, and guess who's buying it?
Everyone? Everyone should.
They should. It's really great. But yeah, like the thing I would say about this film is that you may not love all of the poems, but there's definitely a few poems in there for you.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. In fact, it got to the point where not only would I like to buy the book of the Prophet solely for the poetry, but I mean I'd read it for sure. I would also like to get the soundtrack of this film.
Yes.
If such a thing exists, because there's a lot of beautiful music from the start through the finish. The BGM is also great. It's
background music.
it's all very nice. It's a really good production, animation wise, story wise. I'd seen it twice. I saw it on the film festival at the VIFF film festival, and then I saw it with you today. And I definitely appreciated it more the second time around.
I begged him to take me.
I would definitely give it a recommendation. I'd get and as far as scores go, give you know what, I'm not going to do the numbers thing. I've decided I'm going to use a different sort of a thumbs up, thumbs down type of system. I would recommend watching this movie.
Yes.
For sure. It's from my point of view, it definitely, it's a beautifully rendered film. The animation is it's really nice, and story wise, it really you like. I like everything about it. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the colors that everything, and every poem also transitions beautifully. It doesn't feel disjointed.
Yeah. The first are like, I think the one about children felt a little like out of place for me. I guess.
I guess, I don't know. It was like he sits her down and then he starts talking about. And by this point, you already know, like when he starts his poems, because when he talks about like this first poem where he meets Almitra and talks about, I've escaped out of here 1,000 times and I can fly because there's no prison that can hold me. My spirit is free, and
I think because maybe it was just because I wasn't expecting it. The second, I wasn't expecting it a second time, essentially, and I wasn't expecting a much different animation from the first one, because I didn't really look into this film too much before going in. I just knew that I really wanted to see it because I'd heard a lot of really good things about it. And I mean, heck, we live in a city where we can see it, so why the heck not?
Yeah. So I'm quite hard pressed to find anything that I disliked about the movie. The worst I can really say is there are times where the poems come in too quickly between each other. They're like, I want to ask you a question, and then he answers with a poem. And then it's like, I want to ask you a question, and then he answers with a poem. If I were to meet somebody like that, I would get really annoyed with him real quickly, because sometimes you just want to ask them a question, and they should just give you an answer. Not saying... But the poetry is really beautiful, so the pacing of the poems could have maybe been a bit more widespread, but that would have made the movie a lot longer. It's very difficult.
I can't imagine they would have had the budget to do it, because they...
No, for sure. So that's what I'm saying, like, if there were things that I would be allowed to change given the budget, then sure, that's probably but that's why I'm not a director at this point. I did like it, though. That was my first critique from the first time. Second time watching it, not so much that. It's really just everything, I think, transitions into the poems really nicely, transitions out. When there's a song instead of just a poetry reading, then that also sounds, and Liam Neeson is the voice of the prophet.
Oh, yes.
And he, Mustafa, well, here it says Al-Mustafa, but it sounded like it said Mustafa. Mustafa.
I think in the...
Mustafa. It's Mufasa from Lion King.
Oh.
The whole hyena sequence.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Because I was going to answer your question. It is Mustafa in the film.
Okay. So Liam Neeson does the voice of him, and I don't know. It sounded really, really good.
Yes.
His voice is honey in my ears, and it sounded really nice. And there's nothing I can really say I don't like about this film. I like the sound, I like the visuals, I like the animation, I like the story, I like the everything. So, yeah, for animation fans, for sure, you can definitely swoon over a lot of sequences in this. But for story fans, you'll like this too, especially if you appreciate poetry. There's a little something for everybody here, and even if you aren't really big into, I think kids can also really get into this.
There were a lot of kids in the showing that we went to.
Yeah, I don't think it's not kid friendly, because even though the poems have deeper meanings, they're spoken simply.
Yes.
It's not an Edgar Allan Poe poem where it's like you gotta have a thesaurus next to you to understand his poems.
For reference's sake, I'm currently wearing an Edgar Allan Poe bandage that my mother gave to me as like a gag gift, but they work as actual band-aids, so... So,
yeah, that's my opinion on the film.
Yes.
At least my rating. I give it a go, watch it.
Yeah, definitely. If you've got a chance, if you see it...
And to buy the DVD.
Yes, please buy the DVD. Please support films like this, because heaven knows they need the money.
It's not only that, we just need the support for them, because then we get more of these films.
Exactly.
Don't get me, I love my Madagascar 4 as much as the next person, because I watch movies to get away from shit too. But at the same time, I would like to also, I like art. People like art, and if we don't get it, we're not going to watch it, but sometimes we don't know about it. Internet's made it a lot easier for people to know about these things. This film made probably 30 years ago, appreciated for sure.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of movies we can say, we appreciate it now, but it wasn't known back then. And now, I mean, look at something like Sharknado making millions of dollars. So surely a film like this should make a couple million too, you know, like...
Yeah, certainly hope so, because it's definitely a gem. It's very heavy in certain aspects, but it's also, it's not heavy in the sense of like, it's not heavy in the sense that it's dark. It's pretty light the whole way through up until the end, but that's very spoilery, so let's not touch that.
Yeah, that'll be in the next episode.
It's I think people, I think even if you're not really an avant-garde movie fan, check it out anyway, because it's philosophy in bite-size, like bite-size philosophy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, yeah, the poems in general definitely are. If they make you think, they make you feel, they make you, I don't know, when I listen to them, it makes me want to be that person sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to be able to think like that. Yeah, one of my favorite poems from the whole sequence is the about good and evil. In the sense, because I like it when people think about the concept of evil, that not just to be evil for the sake of hurting or to be different from good, because you've got this weird yin, like not even yin and yang of good and evil, where like people treat good as this lame thing to be, and evil is this cool thing to be. You know, evil's the smoker with the leather jacket and, you know, standing by his motorcycle, and good is the little prim schoolgirl going, you know, with her low cut dress and, or I don't know, you know, the low dress, just
the dress that's
dressed by her ankles.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, that's not always what it is. Like, it starts off, it's like evil, good will still, if good is hungry, it will find a meal in the darkest cave. And if good is thirsty, it will drink from tepid waters or dead waters. And that's true, because when good gets to that point where you need to survive, you can become quote unquote evil.
Yeah.
But it's not evil. It's just a different way.
Well,
but there is definitely a concept of evil. Like, if you try and hurt somebody,
oh, absolutely.
You know, if there's like I want to hurt you because screw you, I'm better than everybody, then that's evil. If you're a rebel without a cause, if you just want to fight, then that's evil. But if you're a rebel because you want to genuinely change the world, yeah, you're going to be seen evil by some people, but you're not evil because you don't like that system. You know, it's one of my favorite poems in the story, at least one of my favorites.
Gosh, I don't know what my favorite one was.
I like the marriage one too.
I really loved the marriage one a lot, because it reminded me a lot. When I was in high school, I had this karate professor. Interestingly enough, my school had karate as a class, because we were required to have some sort of physical education. Shush you. But yes, we were. Anyway, so he once said, he was once talking about his wife to me, and he said that, like, I think I mentioned something about soulmates to him, and he was like, well, my wife and I are not soulmates. We are. It's like, yes, I very much enjoy being with you, and I love you very much, but I am my own person. And I felt like that was how this marriage poem was. It was like, you know, support each other, but still be yourself, be your own person, kind of thing.
One of my favorite analogies that they use is like, be like a pillar, that you don't stay, like, you support the roof, but you're not so close to each other that the roof can come down.
Yeah.
You know, it's even though you're together and you're holding up the same thing, you're not stuck to each other.
Yes.
You know, like, yeah, there's a lot of really nice imagery in the poetry, and the animation accompanies it really well. Like, there was not really one animation that I couldn't say did a good job.
Yeah, it was the whole thing. Yeah. Gosh, it's so hard, because I think one thing that really resonated with me was the love one. I guess because it didn't feel very fairy tale-y. You know, it was, I mean, there was sort of a fairy tale element to it, but it wasn't like this, whimsical, like, oh, love, you just feel it,
Yeah.
very Disney-esque. It was very down to earth, I felt. It was very, like, it's so hard to. I wish I had the poems in front of me. We're gonna have to buy this book. But
easy. Okay, I'll easily buy a book like this.
yeah.
I mean, just the poetry is just so beautiful. And I'm not really even a stickler for poetry, you know, because I get really sort of annoyed by certain authors. Like, I mean, Edgar Allan Poe, as much as I do like his poetry, I get annoyed by him because I'm like, freaking Edgar, put down the thesaurus and write what you freaking mean for 1 second. You know, it's like, okay, we get it, you know how to read. It's like, well done. And, you know, and then I'll get annoyed by that. You know, it's like, put down the $5 words and write a meaningful poem. These poems are meaningful. They're nice, they're easily understood. And maybe, you know, some people will be all up in arms about that because it's like, oh, they're so easy, anybody can understand them. But if your poem's hard to understand, that's not great. You know?
It kind of reminds me of, like, when I was in high school, and I have a bit of a thing with conceptual artists, just because I had a few kids in my art classes that, you know, they didn't put too much effort into their work, and I don't know, it was like, here's my thing, isn't it obvious how I am saying so much with it? I'm like, I'm sorry, it looks like garbage to me. If I saw this on a table, I would like, ooh, someone forgot to throw this away. Like,
yeah, well, yeah, modern art and you know, it gets really tricky.
Look, I don't.
You got to sit and decipher it sometimes.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though. Sometimes you can be like, okay.
Some of it I do appreciate. I have seen some modern conceptual art pieces. I'm like, oh yes, I actually get what you're trying to say with this, but not all the time. But that's what I mean when I say it's like a art festival film, but I think the masses, if you will appreciate very much.
Well, what's your rating then for the film?
Definitely go watch it. Are we doing them on a number system?
You can if you want. I'm not doing the number system
Don't
anymore.
make me do the number system.
Then don't do the number system.
I'm not going to do the number
Emily
system.
gives it a go watch, I give it a go watch, and buy the DVD.
Definitely buy the DVD.
Yeah. I'm buying the book.
We're buying the book and the DVD.
Yeah, wait for Anonymators read, and we will... yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, oh geez, now I'm going to review books. Okay, so yeah. Okay, well, we're going to get on to... Thank you for listening. If you wish to contact us, you can find us at the Anonymators...
The Anonymous Animators.
The Anonymousanimators at gmail.com. You can request movies that you want to know about. If you don't want to watch it and you want me to watch it, I'll do it. Or if there's anything that you want to, I don't know, hear. I mean, we got a whole list of things that we're going to talk about anyway, so.
Yes. Yeah, so if there's a movie out there, especially if it's sort of a lower-end film, sort of hush-hush, independent film kind of thing, especially if it's animation, hey, if it's animation, we're all over that.
Yeah, if there's a gem that you just want other people to even know about, that's great too. I'll watch it, and we'll probably watch some really cheesy films too. We're talking about watching Food Fight, maybe. So... yeah, we'll save the history for that on the episode we talk about it. Yeah, so there's the email. You can also find us at theanonymators.tumblr.
Just anonymators.tumblr.com.
Emily's my social media expert in this one. And yeah, please go ahead, post, reblog, do whatever. Would be nice. Like, comment, subscribe.
Share.
Yeah, definitely share. I don't really care about the likes and the comments. And yeah, thank you for listening.
And we'll see you in the spoiler episode.
Is the wind. In your longing for your greater self lies your goodness. Your children are not your children. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. What is it to work with love? Work is love made visible. My words are my wings, and you are my messenger.